So Chag Sameach, everyone. Sorry for the short delay. There was a misunderstanding of who's opening the shiur, but now we're here. I know that they have the Yom Ha'atzmaut ceremony in Gothenburg, so that's probably part of this, the problem. But now we are here and we were ready to study. I hope you all had a special day, this Independence Day that is this year, I would say, more complicated than ever I remember before. We had Yom Ha'atzmaut that was sad, and we had Yom Ha'atzmaut that were extremely happy. But having the Yom Ha'atzmaut as complicated as this year is something I don't remember I experienced in my lifetime. Having all the debates in Israel in the level they came to, and we really hope that in a weird way something good will come out of this situation. I'm a big I always learned from my grandfather that as a Jew you always have to do two things. You have to be two things. One is always be in opposition, always make an argument for a different direction or think in a way, but also always challenging society to make it better. So this is a rule that we always have to be in opposition. That's one aspect as being
Hey,
Jew.
I'm sorry.
Yes?
Can you put both of you as spotlight? I think it's what cancel when I make you host.
It's fine. I will add option.
Okay, because we can't see Rav Shmuel.
Yeah, I'm adding it now. So as I said, one is being in opposition. The other one was being optimistic. He said that as Jew, when we look on our history, with so many people and groups and societies and countries that were against us, so with so many, then and even though we survived and managed and are still here, then it means we always have to be optimistic. We have to believe that we have a better future. Someone asked about Sophie. I think she entered the wrong. She's not waiting here. She's waiting to a different. So you should send her the right link. Thank you, Silke. But we will study. We'll continue our studies in Masechet Avot, and we're finishing today the students of Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai. They walked with us quite a while now, and now we finished the last Mishnah that is of one of his disciples, of Rabbi Elazar ben Arach. And we already talked about him before, so I won't open all of it, but just a reminder that Rabbi Elazar ben Arach was the rabbi who was supposed to be brightest than all the rest. He was the one who is the Kemayana Mitgaber, someone who flourished with new things, the new ideas, and flow out like a spring that goes out of the mountain and bring its water to everywhere, while the other one was Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkenus, that was Borsut she'eno ma'abed tipa. These were the two that stood. He was the one who remembers everything. That was Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkenus, and Rabbi Elazar ben Arach was the one who was very creative and could find a new thing, but unfortunately he disappeared in many ways because he went to Emmaus, the place of the nice water. So the one who is like a spring, he went to the place of the good water, and there he forgot all his Torah, because if you only create all the time, but there's nothing that holds it, then it might disappear. And there's a whole story about this tragedy, but we mentioned that before, so I don't want to go any more to the details. I want to look on the Mishnah, on the idea that he brings along, maybe in the light of of who he was and his way of study. So we study Mishnah Bet, Perek Bet, Mishnah Yudaled. Here, open it. Everyone can see? Great. So Rabbi Elazar אומר, הווי שקוד ללמוד תורה, ודע מה שתשיב לאפיקורס, ודע לפני מי אתה עמל. ונאמן הוא בעל מלאכתך שישלם לך שכר פעולתך. First I will just read quickly the whole Mishnah in English. Rabbi Elazar said, be diligent in the study of Torah, and know how to answer an epikoros, and know before whom you toil, and that your employer is faithful, for he will pay you the reward of your labor. So we continue here this classical thing that we already had quite in a while, of a rabbi coming with three messages. And here we even have four, but the question is the first one 2 or 1? The question is, is it 1 or is it 2 different ones? You should so be diligent in the study of Torah. Is it as a result know how to answer the epikoros and know before whom you told? Is it as a result of the first one, or is it everyone set for its own? But I want to go in the details of this Mishnah. And Rav Shmuel, of course, you are welcome to come in whenever, especially when you disagree. Also when you agree, but we always prefer when you disagree. That's a Jewish tradition, that it's always better if someone challenges, not if someone supports. That's as Rabbi Yochanan said, I don't need you to know I'm right? I need you to know, to try to prove I'm wrong. That's much more interesting. So Rabbi Elazar starts with Hevei shakul lilmod Torah. Now this is a very special way to say you should study Torah. The word shakud is that was translated here as diligent. I'm actually not sure. I think we need to be very sensitive about the word here, because my English is not good enough to understand the differences between what is diligent, which other options could be. But I will try to explain the word shakud as I can understand it. The modern Hebrew uses lishkod as a result of what we read here. The use that I have. Oh, now because of the share, I can't look on my other screen where I put the official. That's a problem. Yeah, I know what I'll do. Make it shorter. You can see everything I do, or are you still in the same? We can see. You can see everything I do. Yeah. Okay. So instead, I will stop share and we'll go back. So yeah, we'll do. Yeah, I'll do it like this. To be different, that's because the line is up, so I can't go reach it. So in the dictionary, the word shakad, shin kuf dalet, means nizdarez v'haya er la'inyan. It means someone who was quick and er is awake. But awake means like he notices, like he understands. He figures out quickly. He listened to the small details. He's ready to react. So this is one option. The other option that they bring is natan da'ato. He thought about a topic, and as you know, the word lishkod, which is I have here some linguistics, so I'm worried to say something completely wrong. But the source of this word, why do we use to study well? Why do we use lishkod to this phrase? It's actually quite an interesting word out of all the words of being. I would say maybe charutz, I don't know, someone who or dedicated, but the word lishkod, where do we come this word? Originally, probably it comes from the shorish shaked, which is a, what is the shaked? You know what a shaked is, right? Like a shkedia. It's
almond,
almonds, right? Almond or almond tree. Now, what had the almond tree to do with studying Torah? Lishkod lilmod Torah. What is the connection? And we remember that the Et Shaked had some special qualities in the Bible, especially when we say, I know today everyone thinks that Shaked is something to do with Tu B'Shvat, because of the Shkedia. It has nothing to do with Tu B'Shvat. That's a very modern connection that started much later. But originally, what they looked in the word Shaked in this connection is that it's the first to blossom, to bring to blossom. So it's the shaked is something that's come very quickly, and remember it from the story of Aaron, Moses' brother, and all the others. It said that when there was a fight between the leaders, who should be the leader, the Kohen Gadol, or the leading shevet, the leading tribe. They put all these stocks. How do stale? How do a stock? Right? Is that the word?
Sticks. Stick.
Yes, but it's not like the stick they use as a just like the mate of staff. Yeah. So staff. They put all the tribe's staff, and it says that Aaron's staff, it came out like that it came shkedim. That the word shaked is mentioned there, that which meant it brought fruit very quickly. So it's I would say a unique word to say. Usually we use our energy and to doing. And this is also what the Mishnah usually did. And here, suddenly he said, come, you should use your energy to study Torah. Just like we do today. Now, you use your lishkod, come from, use your power, you're like, lishkod in a way that you're quick, you're think quickly, do it. Use that to limud Torah. It's a way of studying. And in that sense, I would say that this word specifically, I think fits very well Rabbi Elazar ben Arach. Like it's like the quick aspect of being very aware of the details. It's the same way that he is of the fluent water, the water that comes quickly, just like the shaked that brings the flowers in the early season and runs out quickly to bring good results. So this is one aspect that comes along. Comes first in the Mishnah, but now if we look at if we continue here, to the Mishnah itself, here he adds something where he says, "V'da ma shetashiv le'epikoros." Now, Lior, I can already see you smiling here, because Epikoros here, and we come into your field. If you don't know, Lior sits here, is specializes in Latin and Greek, and this is his field. So, and Epikoros is definitely not something that comes from classic Hebrew. That's no doubt. But the main question here is what do the Mishnah want to say? Who is this Epikoros that you know you need to answer to. Now, when I say Epicurus, I need to say it in a with a Haredi matter, like with a Yiddish accent. Epicurus. It doesn't sound the same. We say Epicurus. It's in this Yiddish accent. It's like a curse. It's not just a. But originally, it's probably like Epicurus. And we all probably many of us remember the usual explanation here is that Epicurus was the now I opened something else in my mistake, but Epicurus is a very famous Greek philosopher, or I don't know what is the right word to describe he was, and his views were that a person has to how do you say sigufim. He needs to control himself extremely with the pleasures of the world, not to going into not to enjoy the world too much, and he should control his desires, and in general he needs to avoid interfering the world too much. And that will be the true enjoyment of the world, of the way of life. And he believed that the world, as we say, galgal sovev ba'olam. It's like a wheel that turns around all the time, and it's turned it circles in a specific way, regardless where it comes from. It means nothing to intervene with this. This is how things should be. So you need to accept everything that happens. This is part of the way of the world, and you shouldn't think. You shouldn't try to change it. So I'm sure I'm wrong. I'm not an expert here. So Elio, if you have a different view here about explanation, but you can try to find in other places, or of Shmuel, if you have a different interpretation here. You can talk, Leo, if you because I asked you.
So I think I've been thinking a lot about this sentence, because for me, like studying lots of Greek philosophy, all the time I say to myself, "Dama shetashiv le'Epicurus."
You should speak slowly so we can follow.
Yeah. But I think there's something about Epicurus's doctrine that I think is really what irritated the sages. Namely, the fact that since he was a speaker for the theory of atoms, he is the one that is known nowadays for being the person that sort of like promoted this theory of the atoms, and he kind of like used this way of describing nature and biology and metaphysics and so on and so forth, just to say that like he believed that there was something beyond. But he believed that it's irrelevant to care about it. Like he called it in their language, he said that there are gods, but they just don't care about us. And then we shouldn't do anything at all. We should just live, and we should look for a hedoneh, which is like satisfaction in a way, but not in the way we know it from our language, our contemporary language, but in a way just like we should try to avoid pain and so on and so forth. But the very central idea that was very, very new and radical for him was the fact that you don't have a reward. You should not be afraid ever. Everything is superstition. And if you're afraid, you're just being superstitious and so on and so forth. And I think this has a huge clash with Judaism, because we believe that, and this is
that we are in relation with God. This is the main thing.
Exactly, and I think this really, really speaks about, like, this really correlates very well with what comes afterwards in this specific Mishnah.
Exactly, and Rambam, if I'll continue that direction. Rambam, everyone understood, or should I just make it clear? Well, the basic thing Lior says, God or gods or whatever created the world. Maybe there is such a force in Epicurus way, but it has nothing to do with us. They created the world, but they don't care about what's happening here. Like they live in their own world, and we live in ours, and there's no connection. So, and this is definitely something against everything we believe in as Jews from the start of the Torah. Rambam talked a lot about this. The thing that Rambam also is an expert of the Greek philosophers, and also very inspired by other philosophers, not because he was very much against him. And he said that we need to build our life exactly the opposite than him. That we have to live in a way knowing that God is interested in what we do, and try to influence the world and society and all of that. So of course this is, and when you come here, Rabbi Elazar, it says, you should know how to answer such a person that says nothing matters. Nothing matters regarding God. They don't care about what's happening here. This kind of view was completely against the Jewish tradition. Rav Shmuel, do you have anything to add about this meeting with Apikoros?
Yeah, so I think first of all it's very interesting because in the Talmud's language, epikoros becomes like a very general term for like heresy. Like that's how it's translated usually in English, believing in beliefs that are against the Torah, whether it's believing in there is no God or there's no Torah from God or all sorts of different things. And epikoros becomes a very general term. And I think it's actually quite telling that this epikoros, which is really a specific Greek philosopher and a specific school of Greek philosophy. There were many different schools and many different ideologies in those days, and most of them, if not all of them, were at odds with the Torah. So it's very interesting. This becomes like the symbol of non-Torah thought. And I think it's exactly like you were saying, that it's so the opposite of everything Jewish, which is like everything matters and my actions are extremely important and the human actions are central, and that's what gives meaning to my life, to meaning to the life of the world, and we can make a difference. And then you have this worldview where just what you do doesn't make any difference and just enjoy life. They're like so opposite that the language of the rabbis, it just became a very just a general word for being against the Torah. I want to just concentrate maybe a bit more on the word before, to tashiv, tashiv lapikoros, what to answer lapikoros. First of all, I'm just thinking. First, you're told to study the Torah diligently. And then you have another sentence, know what to answer the apikoros. Now, these two, they can work together, but they don't always work together. You know, you have very, very great Torah scholars in the world who have an amazing knowledge of the Torah. But they might not, you know, when somebody criticizes the Torah, they might not always have like an answer that convinces him or that convinces other people. And I think that's an interesting thing. You know, just some time ago, the president of our community was saying that he went, I don't remember where it was, but there was some sort of European meeting where they're talking about laws, shchita, halal, circumcision, all of these issues that are obviously very burning.
We talk about that every meeting, every European meeting we talk about.
Every European meeting, right. And what he found out really interesting was that, like the Muslims, when they were defending their rights, it was always about quoting verses from the Quran or from the Hadith or whatever it was, Islamic sources to defend their point of view. And when you had Jewish speakers, there was always like, you know, they're talking about the medical benefits of Brit Milah, they were talking about how it's not so painful, the shchita. And I'm just thinking that maybe this is something which is really essential as well. That you're going to speak to somebody who doesn't come from your religion, he doesn't come from your laws, and what it says in the Torah might not mean anything to him. He'll say it says like that in the Torah. That might not be an argument for him. but you might find other arguments that are meaningful and important for him. So I think I'm thinking that maybe there is even like some sort of hint here that you have to be a Talmid Chacham. You have to be somebody who studies the Torah, and that has to be for you the source of the meaning in your life. But at the same time, you should have some tools to debate and discuss with somebody else who doesn't share your worldview, because otherwise you're not gonna be able to defend your Torah view. So you have to have the tools to protect the Torah with, actually. Yeah.
So, I read someone who, when I prepared for the studying today, I read someone who said that the Damash at Tashiv Apikoros should be, it's like the Apikoros within yourself. That you when you study Torah, and maybe Rabbi Elazar himself had like issues about that. He that when you're shakud, when you do the shkida, you learn properly, but you also learn quickly. There's a risk that when you try to observe all the time all these things, you have other thoughts that will come. Hey, can it be? And he tells you need to be prepared. You need to be prepared when these thoughts will come. When these way of thinking, then these questions will come. I can tell you, definitely, I have them once in a while. You read the Torah, then you come this, we call it in Hebrew, machshevet kfira, a thought of, how do you say kfira?
Heresy, maybe, or
heresy. Yes, a thought of heresy. A thought that comes and say, but maybe the whole thing can't be right. Maybe, come on, this is like way too long. What you have different thoughts of heresy that can come. So Rabbi Elazar comes and says, you have to be open and quick and think of the when you study Torah, but you also need to remember what to answer this epikoros, that when these thoughts of heresy will come, you need to be ready with an answer, because you know they will come. Because when you study properly, you have also good questions, and you should be open to good questions. But you also need to be able to answer these questions. You need to be prepared. Like, are there answers? Are the questions that are too hard? Maybe he prepares us to the situation that he came to. He was maybe too quick and lost everything because he went so quickly with his thoughts and with his views, and then lost his way. I don't know, maybe. So that maybe can be an effect that comes in. I also have to add a whole different direction, and that will ruin everything we just said, which is good, right? Because we always like to challenge what we say and such. And this challenge, again, I'll need your help, Lior, here. It's a challenge that came from Professor Yehuda Libas, who is a great philosopher, studies professor to Machshevet Israel, Jewish philosophy, and he brought quite a few evidence to a suggestion that he has, which is that Epicurus has nothing to do with the Greek philosopher Epicurus. And he says it comes from Greek, yes, but from a whole different Greek character. There is a Greek character, a phenomena that's called Epicurus, which is as far as I understood, supposed to be Ben Brit. I don't know how. Yes, Lior, you give
the translation. The most literal translation would be a helper, and they could use it also about their deities. Like they could, because they have different names, so they could it would be a helper. Like the word epikoros means helper. So yes, a Ben Brit could be translated as.
Okay, but where does it come from? There was a belief in the Greek philosophy, or the Greek belief, or I'm not an expert, as I said. I'm quoting Yehuda Libas, and he says that there was a guardian. This Greek philosophy was talked about a guardian angel who stood in the entrance to Sheol, to the world of the dead. And everyone who came, he looked at this person and needed to measure, was he a good or a bad person? What should we do with this person who just came and died? And the Professor Yehuda Libas comes here and says, is not to a different person who hold the belief of an epikoros. Like, it's not, when we see the word epikoros here and saying everyone who thought the same way as epikoros were called epikoros. That's not clear. So he said, no. Who do you need to know to be ready to answer? The guarding angel that will stand in front of Sheol, in front of Gan Eden before you die. He said you should be shakud lilmod Torah because you need to be able to answer him when he will ask you, but what did you do in your life? So this is like a complete different direction, ruining all the philosophy and all that, and so on, but gives another option, which is relevant in the whole of Mishnah. Because what the Mishnah continues with our relations with God. So you could say it is connected to the philosophy of Epicurus, that he says it doesn't mean anything what you do. So here he says, know before whom you toil in differences, but it can also be get ready for your afterlife. Get ready. Who is it you work for? Who is it you did everything you did during your life here? And you should know. You should know that, believe that our employer, and of course our employer is a God in heaven, that he will pay the reward of your labor. So this takes a very different direction to the whole of Mishnah, if this epikoros is not a philosophy, but this guarding angel that stands in the entrance to afterlife. I'll let you choose the right one. You can read what Professor Yehuda Libas wrote about it. I'm not sure all of you have access to his books, but that's another option that is interesting. Also regarding other thing, then it evolved, and here Rav Shmuel is right that later this epikoros, because of the philosophy, became a symbol. So that's not a question. He only questioned the first sources. He says that in the beginning this was the first meaning of the word, but then in the Talmud time it evolved to a different direction. Something that happens many times. That when you go far away in the Talmud time in Babylon, they were less aware of the Greek. They had a bit less Greek influence as they had in Eretz Israel, both because they are closer. The Hellenists controlled the area of Syria, Israel, Egypt, and from Greece to all this area, but it was a long time before. So maybe the influence of these thoughts faded away, and they were less aware of these beliefs. That's an option, but I would say that the majority, this is a view of Professor Libas, the majority reads this as the philosopher and connecting it to people who hold that belief. I think that we should continue in this direction and understanding. So do you have something to add? Because if not, I want to touch also the last sentence.
I think we should move on. The very interesting 2 sentences till at the end about.
Yes. So I have to admit that the last sentence here, I found it very hard with. That it says, "V'ne'eman u'ba'al melachtecha she'yishalem lecha schar pa'ulatecha." Yes, it's part of the das that starts here, the thing that you need to know. You should know who is it, whom you toil. But at the same time, you should know that your employer, God, is faithful, and he will pay you the reward of your labor. Now, why does this sentence make me jump? And all of you should do the same. Yes, whoever wants to join in, you can. I can answer that. It makes me jump. Yes, Silke.
I guess that if you're Jewish, you don't do anything because you believe in an afterlife. You do it because you should be a good person. So I guess
First of all, we should as Jews. We saw so many other places. Believing in the afterlife is extremely important. That you should prepare yourself to the afterlife and such. But you are very right. Where did we see the first time that you should do things because they're right, as you said? We had that already in the first chapter. Another Greek name, right? The last time we met a Greek name, it was Antignos Isucho. And Antignos Isucho said, you should not act as those who serve their master in order to get reward. We should do it because it's right. So even it doesn't mean that you don't believe in afterlife. It doesn't mean that you don't believe in also getting reward and punishment. But it means that we need to do the things because they're right, and not because one day we will get a reward. So this view of you should know that God will give you a great reward in the future. For me, like it feels like a problem in the light of the last one. If we didn't have the first one, then I wouldn't say that. But because we already had Antignos Isucho saying you shouldn't do things when you wait for reward, then why should Rabbi Elazar come now and say the opposite? Shmuel, do you have an answer for me?
So
No.
I think that we see this in many places. We see on the one hand the ideal being don't work for reward, but on the other hand, we do speak about reward in many places, and actually, we actually have in Pirkei Avot itself. We have this. I don't think we've gotten to it yet, or maybe we have. We mentioned this idea that take care of every mitzvah because you don't know the reward.
Yes.
You don't know the reward of mitzvot, so they might have a big reward. So on the one hand, we say do all the mitzvah and don't worry about the reward. On the other hand, why are you doing every mitzvah? Because this mitzvah might have a really big reward and you don't know it. So,
and even I will add, Shmuel, even if you look in the next Mishnah, not because we need to open it, in the next Mishnah we'll say V'asachar arbeh.
Yeah.
Yes, Rabbi Tarfon will say here that the reward is great. so we can see suddenly maybe a shift.
Yeah.
We'll start talking more about reward that we didn't do before.
I'm thinking if there's here a bit of you were mentioning there's an apikoros inside you. So maybe there's a bit of a similar idea here as well, that at the end of the day, we're human. And to tell I have to be good my whole life, just to be holy and to be close to God and do what's right, it's a very great ideal. But there are moments in life when, you don't feel like up to that ideal and you want to do things maybe that you shouldn't do. Or, you're not so interested in Torah, So maybe in moments like this, you need to have this feeling that there is a reward, because otherwise you just won't move on, A bit, we have this idea of of Torah shelo lishma. Yeah, it's actually a very interesting concept because it's actually a very Jewish concept, and very often we talk to people, and the first thing we tell them, do mitzvot. Somebody didn't used to put on tefillin. Somebody didn't used to give tzedakah, concentrate a lot on these actions. And often people coming from other religions or other philosophies, they find that quite strange. Like, does this person believe in God? Does this person, is he a moral person? But I think this is sort of the idea that, give yourself something, because some sort of push to work. Because the most important is the good deeds. Eventually, you want to get somewhere high. You want to be a really holy person who doesn't even think about the reward. But maybe like you have to be realistic with yourself, well, what you are. Maybe you have it. I'm just trying to think. Maybe even you have sort of it in the whole Mishnah. Really be completely deep in the Torah. But at the same time, have answers ready when you question the Torah. And then you know in front of whom you work. So, you have to do it for God, But at the same time, like, remember, you're doing it for God, but God is going to reward you if you feel like this is too hard for you. I don't know. And then maybe that's how I would interpret it.
And this is also how you feel about it.
Yeah.
I have to. For me, I think I don't like this shift, but maybe we can explain the shift maybe a bit with some historical content, like the putting it in a historical perspective might maybe also have an effect here, because Antigonus Isucho lives 200, 300 years before, 200 years maybe before the destruction of the temple. Maybe even before, right? Antigonus Isucho comes right after Shimon HaTzadik. Shimon HaTzadik is minus, in theory, minus 333, because we have a tradition that he met with Alexander Mukdon. Whether is it right or not, that's a whole different story. But there is such a tradition. Antigonus Isucho comes after him, so it's very early in the process. It's clear that he's in the time with a Greek influence, and before the time of the Hashmonaistic revolution. So he's somewhere in the like minus 200, minus 250. So long before here. Maybe he lived in a time that the situation for the Jews wasn't that bad. The Greece in Israel in the start wasn't bad. Like the whole problems, they started later when with Antiochus, and mainly internal problem that between the Kohanim and the different groups and within the Jews. So maybe he lived in a time that everything was fine, and then he said, "You should do things because they're right." Well, Rabbi Elazar lives in the generation after the destruction of the temple. He might even seen the temple. We don't know when exactly, but he was one of the disciples of Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai. The situation of the Jews in that time was the most terrible, unimaginable. They don't only live a destruction, a complete destruction and death of thousands and thousands, but they also continue to live under the Roman in a very, very bad situation with lots of difficulties. We know that in the next generation, all the rabbis will get slaughtered in so many of the most terrible ways of dying. In this time, maybe people. We have to remember, Rabbi Elazar doesn't talk only to in a philosophical view that is timeless. It is timeless because it came into Masechet Avot. But he lived in a generation, in a time. And maybe that generation, when the situation was so bad for the Jews, needed to hear, listen, even though you feel that God abandoned us, you should know that there is a reward in the future, in afterlife. Maybe you can't see you can't reason the situation, you can't reason your life here. seeing the destruction, living in this situation that we live today, you can't see any meaning. You think either God left us or maybe he doesn't even exist, maybe he doesn't care. And Rabbi Elazar and this generation maybe has to make a shift in this view and saying, you shouldn't wait reward here and now. We all know the story that comes later with Elisha ben Avuya that has exactly the same issues. He was one of the greatest rabbis with the greatest knowledge and everything. And then he sees a person, according to the story, sees a person goes up to take chicks, small chicks, right? That's the word, from a nest, send the mother away and take the chicks exactly as the Torah says. And the Torah said there that when you do it, you will live long life. And this person stands on the tree, falls down, and dies. And Elisha ben Avuya looks at it and says, "No, this is impossible. This is against everything we believe. The Torah says that you will live long life if you do this, and while doing it, you die." The rabbis explained to him that no, you don't understand. It's about the afterlife. The long life is the afterlife, not life here, but life in, which means, now I'm not going into the detail of that. If Elisha ben Avuya could understand this way, it means that the understanding of afterlife and reward maybe is under debate in this time. It's not a clear philosophy that all Jews have exactly the same philosophy. Today we can go back and say, this is what Jews believe in. And we'll use the 13 Ikarei Emunah of the Rambam, and we'll use all the things that were written in the past to tell us what we are supposed to believe as Jews. But Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Tarfon and Antigonus didn't have these books. They lived in a time that all these books were created on the things they said. So maybe we should read this Sachar in accordance with the time. When the situation was bad, they told them, listen, you shouldn't wait to get salary, to get reward here in this world. You should wait it another place, because yes, you won't get it here. Here we will continue to suffer under the Romans for now. You shouldn't expect a savior that will come and save everything. If Rabbi Elazar said that, he will lose every credibility when it doesn't happen. A rabbi should never say, now it will be good. That's too dangerous. And he comes and no. Do it and believe that you will get reward at some other point. Saying that gives us maybe an option to choose between the views of Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Tarfon that we will learn next week, and the view of Antigonus Isucho. Antigonus Isucho, as I said, he doesn't say that reward doesn't exist, but he said our actions should be regardless of the reward. We should do it because it's the right thing, because our master told us we should do it. This is a view of a servant who does what he's supposed to do because it is right, as Sibke said before. But sometimes maybe there are people, and I think what's beautiful about this is that we can choose. You don't need to take my view on this, because the rabbi here in Masechet Avot gives us different options, different views. I know what talks to me in the best way, but I'm not sure the same is relevant for Rav Shmuel, or the same will be right for Michael and Carl. Now I'm saying all those who are with the video, although they can see, Paulina, Yeda Kato, yes, all of you, every one of you maybe can have a different direction of the what will make you follow Jewish rules, Jewish traditions. But maybe, as all of them say, the most important thing is that you do it. Regardless what you believe is the reasoning. You can use different reasoning as long as you do it. Shmuel, you want to add something, or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very much like the historical interpretation. I've always been very, very into history. I think it also fits a bit into the Mishnah here, like this worry about the apikoros and the challenging, whether it's from the inside or from the outside. But it could very well be that this Mishnah is talking to the Jew who's living at a weaker time, and these challenges are there. You know, if imagining time of Antigonus, there's a strong Jewish nation living with the temple, perhaps even seeing in some way God's hand in a stronger way. Maybe these challenges from the apikoros might not be the biggest challenge. It actually reminds me, there's a very interesting Gemara in Menachot, very famously quoted, and one of the difficult pieces of Talmud. Perhaps once, I don't know if the Nordic Beit Midrash has once perhaps even done it. It's very, very famous in the world of Hashkafa, like of Jewish thought. There's this discussion between two rabbis, and one asks, he's very interested in Greek philosophy, and can I study it? So the other rabbi says to him, no, because the Torah says you have to study Torah day and night. So if you can find me a time that's not day and it's not night, then you can study Greek philosophy. So basically, normally people understand it means you should never study Greek philosophy. But I once had an explanation, maybe, I don't know if that's the simple meaning, or probably not the simple meaning of what the rabbi meant, but like when things are clear, there's day and there is night. So maybe there's no need for this for this Greek philosophy. But when you live in a time of darkness, of when you don't know anymore what is day and what is night, so you sort of just need to understand the world that you live in, and you need to have answers, and you need to debate with this surrounding force. Of course, the Rambam, Maimonides, he wrote a whole book which was there to help. You know, there's a reason why it's called the Guide of the Perplexed, because there were lots of people who were perplexed. They felt that the Greek philosophy was a fact, and how can the Torah contradict it? And he found a way to put the two together as much as he could. So maybe there is, like you said, there's a Torah for the difficult times, and there's obviously the same Torah, but the Torah has different answers for the difficult times and for the easy times.
Great. So let's hope that there is a good reward for our studies of Torah today. But we should study Torah just because it's interesting and because God said we should study Torah, even if there's no reward, regardless. But hoping that there will be reward, of course. Let's have a Chag Sameach, and we have a few more. It's longer. Yom Ha'atzmaut here is longer, right? It continues until very late in that night, so we have a bit more to celebrate. So really have a Yom Ha'atzmaut Sameach, and let's all pray for good times in Israel and everywhere in the world. Gisa, you want to say something?
Yes, I want to, well, I don't know if I can ask here in private, because we are waiting for the response about the seminary. Is there any?
Yeah? You will get answers very soon, don't worry.
Okay,
very soon,
fine.
I promise.
Okay.
Okay, all the best. Goodbye.
Yeah.